Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I wanted to talk about the book that I wrote. I know a lot of people in my personal life ask me, why did I write a book? How did I write it? And so I thought I would share that with you today. So first things first, my belief is that everybody should write a book. In this day and age, there's really no reason not to write one. I think everybody has some story to share, something important to say, and it's nice to be able to let out your feelings or thoughts on a specific topic or be creative and do something that's fictional. So I believe everybody can and should write a book. So if you're thinking about it, I know a lot of people say, oh, I want to write a book someday, and they toy around with the idea in their minds. I want to say right now that if you are thinking about it, you should go ahead and do it, and if you need any help, message me and I can encourage you and give you some great resources so you can get your book published and into action. I have 2 books that I've published, and the first one is called Rebuilding Rose Park. It is a children's book that explores the elements and principles of design in a way that children can understand, and it rhymes, it's kind of fun, more of a visual picture type book. And it's very small. It's a little bit smaller than the size of this book. I should have brought it for the video, but that's a really fun one that I did that was based upon a college project. But the first book that I ever published is Prepare, and that's what I have right here. And it's a short little book. We have, how many chapters? 16 small chapters. It's a really easy read, and it is about the time of singleness before marriage. So basically, when you're single, how do you handle that? And it all relates to a Catholic perspective. So basically, it's how you handle it in the eyes of the church, and it involves morality and church teaching. So this is my book. Basically, it's going to be a 3-part series eventually, but for right now, I have the first book out, Prepare. Why did I write this book, and why am I qualified to write a book about singleness? Well, because I was single at one point for, let's see, I met my husband when I was 22, but we really started talking, I think, when I was 23. And it's been amazing. Life has been amazing ever since I met my husband. But prior to that, I was incredibly unhappy. I did not like being single at all, one bit. Everything else, do not miss one bit at all. I know hate's a strong word, I hated being single. From the time I was 3 years old, I actually might have been 2.5, because, and I know this because of my life circumstances, when I remember first thinking about wanting kids and wanting to get married. And I just remember just these friends that I was playing with, and when I figure out what timeline that was, I was that young. That's the only reason why I know how young I was. So from the time I was 2.5, 3 years old, my earliest memories, all I could think about is I wanted to get married one day, and I wanted to have children someday. So throughout my life, that was always my goal. When I was in school, I had some other goals and aspirations, but generally I just wanted to get married and have kids and have a family and live life that way. So, so with that, going through life, I never had a boyfriend, never had a lot of interest in people interested in me in a very serious way. It was more, and you know, looking back, I really felt like nobody liked me, but I think what it was now in hindsight was people liked me, but right off the bat, I knew it either wasn't genuine or pure, and I think I picked up on that vibe, and then I viewed it as no one likes me at all, when I think people did like me, but definitely was not in any kind of serious relationship in high school or anything like that. And then moving on to college, I started meeting people. And when you're in college, people are a little more serious, but there still are a lot of people who are not serious out there. And it's difficult to, I guess, weed them out and focus on your goals when you are single and lonely and really seeking companionship. So I had a few friendships with guys, and maybe you could even call them relationships. They weren't official, but there was obviously some sort of interest there. And they did not go so well. They were people who didn't respect me or treat me very well. But generally though, everybody that I encountered, especially as I got older, I met a lot of wonderful guys. And that was the thing. I started getting to a point in my life where a lot of the people who I could tell weren't very serious or were only after a physical component, I was really good at noticing what type of person is going to want those things instead of a true, genuine, Catholic, holy relationship. I started realizing that right off the bat. So as I got older, I was able to very easily only be in contact with guys who were great men and wonderful people. Before that, it was few and far between. I mean, I went years barely interacting with males at all to all of a sudden all these guys were interested in me. And I think the reason that happened was because I finally came to a point in my life and in my spiritual life where I focused less on that desire and I focused on building myself up, trying to make myself the best woman that I could be, focusing completely on Christ. And it sounds corny because I hear that a lot from Catholic speakers and religious people, but I think that's because it's true. And I know a lot of times when we're single and lonely, we don't want to hear that. We just want to hear where we can find somebody or somebody who knows a person they can match us up with. But the real truth is that you will never find somebody unless you prepare your heart and you become the best person you can be on your own. Now, I will say that when I was single and lonely, I had been doing that, and I've always been really into self-help books and speakers and improvement. My whole life, I've always liked finding ways to become a better person. So I thought I was doing pretty good, but I came to a point where I realized there were different aspects of my life, the anxiety that I had, the fear of being anywhere alone or going to a place without a date was a problem in my life. Just because I had my weight figured out, I had my diet figured out, I had my exercise regimen figured out, didn't mean that I was whole and complete on my own. I still had these areas of my life that I needed to attack. And I think that's why I didn't meet my husband until those areas were built up and I improved them. So that's kind of what the book talks about, just my personal story and some tips of advice on if you are in a similar situation. Yeah, so basically that was something that was on my heart for many years, just the struggle that I had and the pain that I had with being single yet desiring a relationship, desiring children, desiring marriage. And especially as I got into my 20s and graduated college, I started to become worried that I would never find anybody, and I genuinely felt completely hopeless. And now it's funny because I'm married, I have kids, and things are great, and you look back and sometimes you do tend to forget the pain that you went through. But I know so many people who are experiencing what I experienced, and my heart really does break for them because there are people in so much pain and anguish over their relationship status and their singleness or bad relationship situation. And I just wish I could convey to people the importance of establishing your own faith-based and base in yourself first, but also truly desiring and cultivating good, faith-filled relationships, because the reason that the church and the Bible and all things religious, the reason that they teach, the importance of waiting until you're married for a lot of physical intimacies, and the reason that they teach against contraceptives, and the reason that they teach all these different things that people tend to resist, is out of love, and that they're trying to prevent people from having heartbreak and from feeling miserable and being depressed and being stuck in their misery. But I think a lot of times people take it as the church doesn't want me to have fun. They're very harsh. They're very strict. That's so old school. They're not with the times. And as somebody who has been as faithful as I possibly could be to a lot of the teachings of the church, I can tell you that it's hard and it stinks sometimes when you just want to be like everybody else. But if you hang in there, it's completely worth it, and it has spared me from so much pain and so much misery. And now that I have my husband, and even just seeing our relationship, because we waited till we were married to have sex with each other, and we just had a very solid relationship before we were married in terms of our prayer life and everything like that. And all of it, it was hard, obviously, but as we did get married, all of those things that we did in order to keep our dating relationship holy and sacred and pure and good trickled into our marriage and has blessed us so abundantly. And I just wish everybody could experience that. And I think everybody can. I think sometimes people look at me and say, well, you're an exception. Not everybody's like that. You're a goody two-shoes. And that is insulting to me, because they are undermining the fact that I made a conscious choice, and I had to endure struggle, and I had to endure embarrassing comments from people about me, and my beliefs on certain things, and I had to really fight to keep good, positive relationships with people. It was not something that was easy. It was a huge struggle. I endured a lot of sadness, a lot of nights of crying and being completely sad. But so when people say, oh, you're an exception, it's just easier for you, it is an insulting comment, I think, because I believe everybody is capable of being like me and being like my husband and finding true joy in following Christ and bringing that into your relationships and your dating life. And it's definitely something that's not easy, but it's attainable for every single one of us. And we're encouraged to follow that good path, even though it's not the path everybody is following. So with that, that's why I decided to write this book, because I just felt like I couldn't find a book with anybody who understood how I was feeling, and I thought, well, maybe some people will feel the way I felt, and maybe this can help encourage some people too. So by the way, a little side note about the cover. So you'll notice it's a very plain design. It's kind of fun though, because you have this pop of lime green, and then in the interior I have some fun patterns and stuff like that. But I kept it somewhat discreet from the outside intentionally, and I'm probably going to do a more updated version of this book down the road, depending on more of the feedback that I get from people. But because I think a lot of people want it to be a more catchy cover, but I intentionally made it very simple and plain so that guys and girls could read this and they don't feel like say you're out at the beach or something and you're reading this, you don't feel like, oh, they're reading a dating book, because sometimes people can be a little bit self-conscious of their singleness and their desire to find a spouse. So I just wanted it to be something that was not very catchy, so that people felt comfortable reading it or carrying it around in public, putting it in their car, and not feeling like embarrassed or something like that, but also having these pops of, you know, some fun stuff on the inside. So that is why I wrote this book. I hope that you can pick it up. It's on Amazon. I'll link it down below. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day, and I will be praying for you if you are single and just looking for your husband or wife, desiring a spouse. You will find them. It just takes time and prayer and patience and just preparing yourself for your future spouse. So I hope that helps you, and thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.